Is David Koechner with us?
He is.
All right.
Oh, awesome.
He still is.
Yay.
Hey, David. How you doing?
I'm very well. How are you?
Doing very well. Excited to have you on, and you're going to be at Mark Ridley's on the 17th through the 19th, and I know on Friday and Saturday you do 2 shows and 1 show Thursday. So, want everybody to know that. And
That's good. Those are the technical particulars. Very good.
yes, we have to get the credits out of the way. I wanted to say right up front that Trudy a couple weeks ago, he said, "Hey, I think we can get David Koechner." And I was like, "Wait, David Koechner?" And I look and I see, "Champ Kind, of course. Are you kidding me?"
Of course. Yeah. Yes, I know. There's a couple of there's one impediment, I believe, to my name or recognition of it in a broader sense, in that I've mispronounced my last name because I'm from a small town in Missouri, and we say Koechner, which is incorrect. Oh. Nowhere in the English language does the OE make the short E sound. Yet, growing up in a small town with 36 first cousins on my father's side, I did not have the temerity to demand correct pronunciation when I joined show business. I should have just changed to Koechner or Koechner, and it would have been much easier, and your brain wouldn't have insisted, like, you don't know him because he refuses to be correct.
Well, you have, but
that's a great name.
You do have all these great roles. I mean, The Office and Curb and Austin. I mean, Talladega Nights, things that I love, and yet, and I see you and I go, oh, I know David Koechner. Are you kidding me? So, I mean, what do most people, if they know exactly who you are, what do they know you from?
Todd Packer.
Well, that's right. It changes with the seasons and the years. Right now, it's Todd Packer.
Why right now?
Well, because everyone's binging it on Netflix.
They are.
Yeah.
It's funny. Evan went through the whole series twice in the last 2 years. It's an amazing show. And we were talking about it before the show, David, and everyone in that show comes off well. There's nobody you go, oh, I hate that guy. I hate Todd Packer.
Oh, that's good.
It really seems that way.
It's okay to hate Todd Packer.
Yeah, I think you're supposed to, maybe. I don't know. He's funny, though. He makes me laugh.
Well, that's fine. But if you don't hate him or hate what he represents, then I haven't done my job.
You've done your job quite well.
See, the first thing I still think of you because I was, introduced to you in SNL and Saturday Night Live. It was only one season with Bill Bradsky. I mean, I don't know. Those people still stick with you. And I was reading about that year, and that was a pretty crazy year that you were on SNL. There was a lot of changeover, and I saw that you said that you maybe said something and you're too political, and that's why you didn't get to come back. What's the story?
Well, not political in the sense of politics.
Politics, yeah.
But in the sense of the politics of navigating the I was not very artful in office politics.
Yeah, that's always an issue at SNL, isn't it?
I guess. I didn't care. I still don't. Everyone wants to complain about, look, the show is not, anyone could point at how you might do things differently. And I don't know if there's any upside in me discussing how I would do it differently. It's not how I would do it, and I'll suffice to say that's enough on that subject.
Okay.
Doesn't matter. I was on one year. I had a great year. I would argue that I had enough stuff from that first year to make a best of.
Okay. I was going to ask you how you like the current Saturday Night Live, but you said that was enough.
Oh, no. My didactic argument about what one should do to make it a better show.
Oh, okay.
There's no upside in me going into that. I don't have time to watch much of anything these days. So I don't want to single out Saturday Night Live as something I'm not currently watching. I drew this back recently. Our twins are 12. You probably know I have 5. My wife and I have 5 children.
Yeah.
And our twins are 12 now. And that's when I drew the timeline back, like, oh, that's when we stopped watching television.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I so know what you're talking about.
That's when our lives became so exponentially busy and complicated that, dedicating ourselves to series television stopped then. The last series my wife and I watched together was The Sopranos.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, they're rerunning them now if you want to watch them. That's the two biggest
Oh,
surprises.
no, I love that show, but there's so many other great ones that we've never seen.
Oh,
You're not
you'll
missing
have
it.
time.
Just watch your own stuff.
Or maybe not, yeah.
Do your kids watch the stuff you've been on?
They'll stumble across it, which is fun. Our daughter is 7, so she stumbled across Captain Underpants on Netflix recently. She's like, "Dad, are you in this?"
Oh, that's cool.
Like, yeah. And there's also a movie on Netflix now called Gnome Alone, not to be confused with Sherlock Gnome. It didn't get a theatrical release, but she paused it, and I was out of town, and my wife took a picture, took a video, whatever, recording of it, and said, "Is this you?" I'm like, yeah. So, yeah. But I think my oldest daughter has started watching The Office because all of her friends do. She's junior in high school, so it's quite popular among the young kids.
You're on the set of the Goldbergs right now. Is that where you're calling
you know
from?
what? As luck would have it, I don't work until tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Yes, but they were going to allow time today.
that's great. That show is actually really a surprise. Great
Huge
show.
hit. It's already got a
huge.
spin-off.
I agree with you. That show is so well written and so well acted. I'm surprised that it hasn't gotten more attention.
There is
It's too bad.
Yeah, you're right. There's something about the way they're sort of presenting it, I think, selling it, because
I don't know, because it deserves. The writing is really sharp. The jokes are great. The stories are great. They always have just the right amount of heart. And you come to the close of the show and you feel better about your family and yourself and your interaction with your family. I mean, they've got a perfect balance of it. They really do. It deserves more accolades, and that's not the reason to do things. But if those do exist, this one should not be overlooked.
Hey, David, you work with Norm when you were on Saturday Night Live quite a bit?
Norm Macdonald or Norm Hiscock?
Norm Macdonald, sorry.
Yeah, both.
Sure.
Both.
Both,
right.
actually, yes.
And
That's a Scandinavian name or a Newfoundland name, Hiscock.
Yeah.
Talk about difficult names.
He's a Kids in the Hauler guy, right?
He was head writer for Kids in the Hall, and then he and I met on Saturday Night Live. He's brilliantly funny.
That's his real name.
Yeah.
Yes, his real name. And him growing up in Canada, in Newfoundland, it was a common name.
So nobody made fun of him in high school. Yeah.
Yeah, no one ran around the playground going, Hiscock, where is your cock?
Well, Canadian. They're not, they do that and then apologize. Right?
Yeah, sorry.
I knew a female named Martha Moorcock, and I just thought, God, it seems like she would get married so fast just to lose that name.
David, how many times have you played a car salesman? Because I can think of 2 off the top of my head.
You're good.
The Goods?
You're good.
And then
You think 2 right off. Okay. The Goods and then Norm's movie, yeah.
Dirty Work with the prostitutes in the trunk.
Yeah.
Fantabulous scene.
Are those the only 2?
Those are the only 2 I can think of.
Okay.
Unless you want to count
I didn't know
Cooter.
he's not a salesman.
That's true. But he worked on cars.
He worked on cars.
But with Norm, back to Norm briefly, he has that show that's going. It's still ongoing, right?
On Netflix?
Yeah,
on Netflix.
Yeah.
You're talking to the wrong guy, but yes, go ahead.
I mean, it just had sort of a rough start because they went back in Norm's comic history and tried to beat him up about it, and we feel real like comedy is sort of under assault in a way.
Wait, who went back and beat him up?
Well, he got beat up because he gave that interview about. It was suggested that he felt bad for Louis C.K. and Roseanne, his 2 friends, and he interviewed them. And then the next day, he was bounced from the Tonight Show because they said some of the writers were crying at the prospect of Norm being on the show, which I would have fired the writers immediately for being too soft myself. But he was bounced from the show. And is that what you're referring to, Trudy?
Yeah, it just feels like comedy is being sterilized and neutralized so much that it won't be funny anymore.
It'll always be funny. There will be taboo subjects that some people can stomach and some people cannot. I'd say it's ironic for writers to not allow another comic or cry about a comic coming on, given that their job is to take on social norms and be cultural liberators and be mindful that your pen is mightier than the sword or mightier than defamation or mightier than ignorance, and therefore you have to let whomever explain their side of the story too. Like, why would you squelch anyone's voice, whether you agreed with it or not?
I don't know.
I mean, certainly Norm didn't hurt anyone. No. He didn't physically have an altercation. Mm-hmm. That's different. If he had assaulted someone the night before, you might go, okay, this is you're certainly legally culpable of doing something, and it's not right for you to come on. But because he had expressed an opinion, everybody decided they didn't want him on. That's fucking horrifying.
I know. I was horrified. I personally, I'm not sure I believe anyone was crying. I can't believe that could bring someone to tears. It seems impossible.
Really
say you're in the wrong business if you're a writer on The Tonight Show and you're crying about a guest. You're in the wrong business. Well, now they'll never have me on.
It's amazing though the shift that's happened in late night. I know you worked on Conan for a while, and it used to be the Letterman Conan, somewhat irrelevant, respectful, but now it seems like it's just games with celebrities or ripping on Trump constantly. Which there's jokes there, but if that's all you are, I don't know. Maybe it's just exhausting.
It'll all change. I mean, when people reach their fill, they'll tune out, and they'll have to change their tactic.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it always bounces back.
Someone has to have the balls to do it. Why don't you do it, David?
I don't have time.
You got to get away from those 5 kids.
I only have time to be on TV. I don't have time to create it or watch it.
It's funny when talking about the Goldbergs, and I know you're very pleased with the show, but it is amazing how many shows there are that I hear about, like, I never heard about that show. And then people are saying, It's really good. You got to watch it. It's like, wow, for our show, I try to keep up, and it seems impossible now.
Right.
There's so many good shows.
Right?
Yeah.
You really have to decide. You've got to then comb through it and go, okay, what really hits me or really challenges me? Black Mirror has been on for how many seasons? 4?
Yeah.
All I've heard is, like, you've got to watch Black Mirror. I haven't seen any of it.
Yeah, me neither.
And that's trust me, I desire to, but then there's also a thing like, I don't want to watch it without my wife.
Yeah. Oh, my God. Yeah.
Right.
So, because, if I'm on the road, then that'd be a perfect time for me to watch it. Right. Like, I could sit one afternoon and binge watch episodes, but then I don't want to, so.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully Mark Ridley put you up somewhere nice and you could watch something, maybe that you wouldn't watch with your wife. I don't know.
I hear there's
maybe you want to watch it.
I don't even know what that word means.
Another show that you've done that I'm really marveling at it because I think it might be one of the hardest acting jobs is Drunk History. Is that a really hard show to do?
Well, it's like anything. If you put some time and attention to something, you can do it easily. Now, if you've not given yourself the time, then you're in a spot because it's not something you just pick up quickly. You can if you had lines of dialogue to learn, that's one thing. Mm. But in this, you have dialogue, inflection, yes, all those ticks. So in that regard, it is a bit harder. But at the same time, the way you're learning it is not. You're just listening to it. You're not necessarily reading it.
Oh, that's
because you got to listen to it. So sometimes when you listen to something audibly, you can pick it up quicker than just read. Try to memorize it off the page.
Oh, that's fascinating. Yeah, almost mimicking.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. I mean, if you and I bounced several lines of dialogue back and forth, we might pick it up quicker than if you and I went to separate rooms and read our lines. Or if you and I were both reading our lines out loud, it might, oddly enough, be easier for me to remember your lines than it would be mine.
Huh. Yeah. Because you're listening. Wow.
See that? Right. It lands more.
My question is answered.
Is that how
Don't tell me what I just said.
You told a story when you were on Colbert, which I thought was really funny, about you two back in the days when you were both struggling, and he was going to throw in the towel or something like that, and you just sort of, hey, we got to go to, what is it, Shuba's?
Shuba's, yeah.
Shuba's Tavern, and that was like his moment. He felt after that he was launched, and you're, and
well, he was. It was a chance encounter. Obviously, he and I had known each other in Chicago, and I had been in New York recently. Prior to that, and I was visiting friends over the Christmas holiday, and it just so happened that somebody was doing a show. I said, "Hey, let's go do this thing." And on the way home, he'd give me a ride home, and I mentioned like, "Oh, I remembered something like, by the way, Robert Smigel's looking for you."
Oh,
huh.
That was the story he was telling. And at that point, and then he was on Smigel's show with Dana Carvey, I believe.
Yeah. And then from there, just a stepping stone.
From there, then they did Ambiguously Gay Duo, and then he was on obviously a lot of other shows. So it's very kind of him to give me some credit
for his career,
for where he is now. Yeah,
he's done okay.
Look, I mean, that guy is so talented and bright. There's no way he wouldn't have succeeded.
Who was in Second City with you in Chicago? Was it Adam McKay? Was he there?
Oh my goodness, the list is so long and vast. I should write it down just so when I'm asked, I could deliver it. It may be one of the most defining 10 years of further media relevance ever to come out of Second City.
Wow. All
right, let's start with Mike Myers, Chris Farley, me, Tina Fey, Amy Poehler, Adam McKay, Scott Adsit, Steve Carell, Steve Colbert, Amy Sedaris. Like that, I've got to write it down. Rachel Dratch, Rachel Sands. And these are just the people you know from television. John Glazer. Now, there's a ton of writers you might not necessarily recognize their names.
Odenkirk.
You'd see certainly Bob Odenkirk, Brian Stack, Kevin Dorff.
Brian Stack.
Tommy Blaka. Just the names go on and on and on. Just the number of people who I happen to be there with in this certain 8 or 9 years of study and performance in Chicago that all went on to be huge, impactful players in television, movies, and, all entertainment.
What year did you get to Chicago?
Chicago, I moved there in 86.
Did you ever see the Happy Happy Good show?
No, who was in that?
That's the Smigel, Odenkirk, Conan O'Brien, kind of review that they did. That is like mythical.
Either that was right before I got there, or it wasn't on my radar. That would have been early when I was there.
Okay, I was just curious because you hear I've never heard much about it other than it's probably built up more than it probably was.
Just when you consider the names that were on it. You just must think amazing. But I think for any of us, if we go back over our earliest performances, they might leave us wanting.
It's great to see people in their formative years. So I think.
Right. That's exactly.
Yeah. There's always something there. And we've seen so many of them at Mark Ridley's over the years, and God, the faces on the wall there, incredible. And you will be there the 17th and the 19th. David Koechner. Koechner. How should we say it? Koechner?
Koechner.
Well, you should say Koechner. It'd be the German way. Or Koechner. I'll respond to anything if I put my name on a list for a restaurant.
Well, the 17th through the 19th, 2 shows, the 18th and 19th at Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle in Royal Oak. David, thanks so much. It's so great to talk to you. Thanks for the time.
Thank you. And again, folks, it's not to be missed. It'll be a show that'll be talked about for years. So you don't want to miss out.
Of course. And go Chiefs.
Yeah.
Go Chiefs. Right on, baby.
I'm getting over the Bears, but I'd like to see the Chiefs go somewhere. I know you
would.
Hey,
man, I was pulling for them, too.
Ouch.
Yeah, fuck Philly.
Thanks again.
Okay.
Thank you, David.
Bye. Thanks, gang. I appreciate it.
See ya. Thank you.
Bye.
All right.
What must you think the whole thing ends with Layla?
Oh, Bart.
Of course. She heard music. She probably thinks the show's ending.
Yeah, she thinks it's over.
It's
oh,
weird.
my God, he's so amazing.
He is. She really does know the end of the show. She knows that music means the show is over and that her attention can be, she can be attended to.
Right. That I can take care of her needs.